In this session, we'll talk about the Generative AI toolkit to grow your creator business 10x. And I have a very special guest with me today. His name is Armand Ruiz. He's a global leader in enterprise IBM solution as director of Watson Generative AI. And his teams enable businesses to implement AI end to end. And he's also the founder of NoCode.ai, which I found, that's actually how I found him, I think, when I was researching. And there he demystifies complex topics, making practical AI accessible to organizations worldwide to transform how they operate. So I thought it was really great content. Then I just went to check him out a little bit. I saw he's like head of kind of AI at IBM. So I thought it would be cool to invite him for the session here. So with that being said, warm welcome, Armand.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited, and hopefully you learn a lot from this session.
I think you're coming from a different background than maybe some of the people I interview. I think it's interesting maybe to start this off with what it is that you do. You are head of IBM. How did you get that role? What it is that you do? Maybe you can give a brief introduction to this, and then we get into kind of the topic for today.
Absolutely. I do have a more enterprise-y background. I'm from Barcelona. You can see that from my accent. I live right now outside San Francisco. I spent 12 years of my career at IBM, first in data science, so working in AI. I joined IBM the year that IBM Watson was announced. So really, when AI was really starting to get popular, and I've been creating products. I spent most of my career in product management. So my biggest focus always when creating AI products was how to make it really easy for non-technical users to get access to complex machine learning and deep learning technology. And in the last 3 years, I've been working on real implementations of generative AI and AI and basic machine learning. Right now, I'm leading a team of over 1,000 people. We just hired 475 people in the last 3 months, AI engineers, and we're doing generative AI deployments in all the industries. And we do them really quickly. We usually spend 2 to 4 weeks to prove the value of the technology. I have quite a lot of experience on that space. That's on my IBM corporate career, my full-time job, but also I'm starting my career as a content creator. So you can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there. And I have this community called NoCode.ai. I think the domain fit really well with what I'm really passionate about, which is making AI super simple. And the no-code movement is exploding. The AI movement is exploding. Somehow I paid a lot of money to get that domain.
Do you want to share how much you pay? This is a good domain. How much do you pay?
Yeah, it's a good domain. Actually, I think I got a decent deal. It was on sale for 30,000 and I got it for 7,000. So
man, that is not bad.
That is not bad, but it's by far the most expensive domain. I had this idea of creating a community for a while, and I was playing with different names. This one fit perfectly, so I did spend the money.
I love no code and AI. They go hand in hand. It's awesome, actually. This revolution we are in right now, but. I'm curious, you had a few things you wanted to share around generative AI, the basics of it, like what is generative AI, maybe some pros and cons, how to go about it. Maybe you can pull up the slides and then we'll have a conversation around it.
I talk to a lot of people about generative AI and AI in general, and people are in different journeys. Some of them are all in, are really crazy about it and learning and implementing. Many people, they just don't really understand it. So I like to level set on the core concepts. Let me bring up.
No, I think it's interesting also to hear it from someone who is not in, I mean, now you're a creator, but you're coming from a different background and see how because you're coming from this huge companies, like seeing kind of IBM or big companies operate and how that can be applied to smaller business. It's really interesting, I think.
Yeah. And I think that's the most exciting part, that this can be applied for any business, big and small. Let me see if the screen is coming up. There you go.
Yep.
I have this one quote. This one, I borrow it from the NVIDIA GTC conference, which is one of the biggest AI conferences. And this was the CEO of NVIDIA saying the LLMs, large language models, are the biggest and the most important models today. These are the models that are driving the revolution. And a lot of people, they don't really understand why generative AI is exploding right now. What happened actually? Why, when ChatGPT went out, became so popular? What is the technology underneath? Because as I said, I've been working in AI for over 12 years. So it seems like AI is cool now. But what actually happened? I always step back and see how all these terms come together. We hear about AI, about machine learning, about deep learning, and generative AI. So basically, AI is the umbrella term that is taking all the entire space. by storm right now. Machine learning is how you actually train models, machine learning models based on historical data and use those models to create predictions. Deep learning is when you use a specific set of algorithms called neural network or deep neural networks, that those are really inspired by the human brain works. We create those networks that are very complex, and to run them very efficiently, you use specialized hardware like GPUs from NVIDIA. And generative AI is really what is taking it to the next level. You're using a type of neural network called transformers. There is a paper that was announced in 2017 by a team of researchers at Google. And basically that changed the whole AI landscape, because right now you can create new content. I can explain a little bit more how you can create new content out of AI, not just do predictions based on historical data, but you can generate new creative content. And I think we're all enjoying that through ChatGPT, because ChatGPT on top of that technology built a very compelling user experience, which is you interact with it in a chat with natural language. So the user interface became your English, right? And everyone speaking English can get outputs like new text, new ideas, new images, new audio, music, whatever assets. It is pretty magical in that sense. There is the technology, the types of models that are powering generative AI is called foundation models. The ones that deal with language are the large language models. Those are a subset. But foundation models can work with any type of data. And what is very cool is that they are pre-trained. I spent most of my career training models. Most of my teams used to spend a lot of time training models. Right now, those models are pre-trained. You see models like GPT-3, GPT-4, Llama models from Meta. There are a lot of open source models. I have a slide. I can go deeper on models if you want to, but those models are pre-trained. So that's a given. They perform actually really well. And then you can adapt those models. And there are different techniques to adapt them for your specific use case. You can adapt them just by basic prompting or advanced prompting, or you can even tune them with your own data and make them more accurate for a specific use case. And we can spend more time, because I think that's when you start differentiating for small businesses, when you start to take models and you adapt them for specific use cases. And what is pretty magical here is that they are self-supervised. I don't want to get really technical here, but basically the way you used to train these models is that we had a limitation on how many humans were labeling data. Right now, you don't need to label any data. The models are self-supervised using some technology that is pretty cool. You can ping me after if you want to go deeper on that. But that means that you can train those models with as much data as you actually want. And they are surprising with the performance to everyone. They are doing things that we couldn't even expect. ChatGPT is trained with the entire internet, basically. And it can write poetry, do recipes. Now they have multimodality as well. You can throw pictures on it, and it's crazy amazing.
This is awesome, by the way. This is great to give a brief intro like this. This is good. So with images and things like that.
Yeah,
as well.
I wanna share the two types are the most popular for everyone. I think there are more. The two main types is the generative language models, LLMs. Those are the ones that are powering things like ChatGPT, GPT-4, Llama. Those are very powerful language models. They are trained on text. Output is usually text or code, which is a form of text, or images. And those are diffusion models. I think those are the two most popular types of generative AI models that everyone is experiencing. There are so many tools that we can use right now. I personally use all the time outside of my job at IBM, because I'm not allowed to use third-party tools because of security and data protection.
I guess to speak on this, you're at big company, you have all your internal tools, and that's what you guys do. You build tools for like doing processes and everything better in the company.
Absolutely. I hope many of you saw this news from Samsung. The developers from Samsung, they were using ChatGPT, and they were basically using it for development. So they were just putting their code on a third-party tool.
That's so dumb, though, because it becomes public knowledge. Isn't that the issue with the ethical thing? And if you give your IP to ChatGPT, other people can get access to it in a way.
Yeah, and I think OpenAI is doing a good job at adding filters and options. They have an enterprise plan. They have ways to provide that security, but at those early days, they didn't have those filters and things like that. In big corporations, those tools are usually forbidden. We have our own tools. My favorite one is one for HR. I used to manage big teams. I have a lot of HR things coming my way, hiring, giving people raises and stuff like that. And usually you need to interact with an HR partner. Right now, 95% of my HR interactions are with a chatbot. It's not just a chatbot that is giving me answers. It's a chatbot that is connected to the HR tools, so I can do end to end. And that's where we're going. We're going to go beyond.
That's so interesting because that's trained. You have uploaded some. They'll have like all the knowledge, right? And this can be applied to create your business. We can talk about this a little bit later, more in depth. This is really interesting. I think that's where things are headed as well. With a lot of things like customer support and things like that can get a lot faster by having things like this as well.
I'll cover that. Where we're going right now is really these chats. We're going to this world of AI agents, and then they can AI coworkers that they can take care of end-to-end jobs, and they have access to third-party tools, and they can execute commands, not just give you text, but they can actually take action, which is fascinating. I want to cover this one. This one is really important because many people ask me, why generative AI right now? What is really the difference? We've heard about AI a few years ago, but right now it's really exploding. And what's the difference? So here on this side, you have predictive ML. This is how I used to do projects until last year. So for every single project, it was a full engineering effort. You needed specialized data. You really needed to create models for each task. And it used to take so much time. That's why AI was not available for the creators. It wasn't available for small businesses because it was a huge effort on the entire life cycle of how you actually do this. There are these massive foundation models. There are many of them, and they will be more over time. Then you can already use them out of the box and they work pretty well. ChatGPT is a great example. Without any customization, with good prompting, you can get decent results. But then for small businesses, that you have enterprise or business data that is unique for your business, you can start doing some pretty cool things when you tune the model or you access that data through the model. We've seen some examples. I saw creators, they are feeding their entire newsletter into a chatbot, and then you can talk to the content.
And there's tools for this. We can talk about this later and discuss it. But I think this is really interesting. I know you have been in AI for a long time compared to most people, 10 plus years. I stumbled across it as a creator or business owner. I just using it. I've known about AI, but I didn't use it in my business. And I'm sure many tools, they've had AI for a long time. Certain tools I use for SEO and things like that, they've had AI things, but generative AI was rather new to start using it. And I think that was with Jasper and Copy.ai. That was two of the first tools that I started using. That was which GPT they used. Maybe it was 3 or something like that in the back.
In my community, Chris, the CTO of Copy.ai, was my first guest in an interview. And that was unbelievable because they did it with GPT-3. I tried
to actually reach out to him. I was going to chat to him as well.
He's too busy right now. They are too popular. Back then, they just crossed 1 million MRR using the GPT-3 API when GPT-3 was not even that popular. They had access to the closed beta, and they built it using Webflow. I think they were using Google Sheets as a database, something really basic using no code. And that's how they started. Now they have like a full platform.
Like a full-blown SaaS.
They created their own models and they're getting more advanced. But
they are really good.
If you want to build your own like SaaS solution or your specific solution for your small business, there are so many tools. And if you want to create, for example, a chatbot to chat with your data or with your YouTube channel, you can do that. You can get all the transcripts and start talking to all the knowledge base. I just saw it
before we got on here. I don't know if you heard of it. It's called Wonder Chat, and also Wisdom AI by Searchy. I think it's more for creators, but it's good because you can upload your knowledge base and then chat with it or offer it to your customers or audience to get knowledge from you. Basically, it's your answers, which is really cool.
I think the biggest challenge right now for anyone on the creator space is hard to keep up with so many cool tools that are coming up.
That's why we are going to give you at least everyone has their personal preference, right? But you're going to give us like a toolkit in this session, which is really, really cool.
I'll explain how I use it on my creator journey and it really helped me a lot. Just one more thing, because many people don't really understand how these LLMs actually work. And what they actually do is something pretty simple. They are able to take a sequence of words and all they do is predict what's the next word that is most likely to come next. That's what they do. That's why some people say they are just like a parrot. They are just repeating what they learned from the internet, but they are able to consume massive amounts of knowledge from the internet. And then they find these relationships. That's why the paper that changed everything, the Transformers paper from Google, is called Attention is All That Matters, because it's all about the attention that the algorithm is putting in some words versus others. and it's the likelihood of predicting the next word in a sentence. When you see ChatGPT writing, what it's actually doing is predicting the next token, the next word on a sentence. That's all the magic. This is all that is happening here. And then you can feed it with more data, customize it, and then magic happens.
This was a good intro to this.
I want to talk about models because as a creator, you're exposed, and anyone on business, this is a big topic of discussion, which model you should be using here. Obviously, there are tools that are connected already to LLMs. ChatGPT is awesome because it works out of the box with models like GPT 3.5, GPT 4. Now they have Dall-E as well there. You have all these different models. You have competitors like Claude, for example. I use Claude all the time because it allows me to upload documents like PDFs, and it's going to give me summaries and things like that. But there is a whole spectrum of models. I don't know if this is something people for your audience really cared about.
It's interesting to know. I think what is interesting, you know a lot about the technicalities about this thing. So I mean, it's interesting to cover it, I think, and then get into this stuff. Because like, for example, you mentioned Claude, right? It's like the token limit, which is something they talk a lot about in these LLMs. Like with ChatGPT it's like 32,000, something like that. And then Claude is like 100,000, right? So maybe you can talk about that a little bit. Why, like when you should choose a certain tool or like one of these platforms.
I have here what I consider the most popular models. I use ChatGPT and OpenAI all the time. And even though the token limit or the context window on how much information you can fit is not the highest, they have ways to go. There are ways to go around that. You can access directly through ChatGPT, but you can also access the APIs if you are brave enough to get your hands dirty. You can access the APIs, and they have so many good tutorials. You can start building custom applications. But I use ChatGPT for mostly basic stuff. But my favorite right now became Claude because I really benefit from the large token limit and context window. And I feel everyone is overusing ChatGPT. So I see a lot of people replying and writing text that is really similar, and it's very easy to spot that is they are using ChatGPT, and Claude is slightly different. But I actually combine them from one to the other.
Well, give an example, because you said like you're using for basic stuff ChatGPT. What would that be in your day to day, or for your, let's say for your no-code.ai? I guess that's more related to the audience here as a creator. What do you use it for?
For example, when I create a piece of content or I'm thinking to write about a topic, I use both Claude and ChatGPT to brainstorm ideas. I usually use more ChatGPT to correct the grammar, to make sure I'm not making mistakes, or to change the tone. Because I work for IBM, I use more too enterprisey, serious style. And I sometimes go to ChatGPT, I copy paste the text and say, okay, make it more informal. And ChatGPT does a great job at that. To summarize as well, I like to say, okay, especially when I'm writing on LinkedIn, the shorter and to the spot, the better. Use ChatGPT a lot for things like put it on a 200 character limit, or get this paragraph and write it on 5 bullet points. ChatGPT is great at that. I'm enjoying Claude a lot, and I'm going to cover this now in a second. Yeah. I have AI agents that crawl the entire Google News API because there are so many AI news. I'll go there, but basically you have all these articles that they are pretty long, or research papers, and I don't have time to read like 100 research papers every week. So I feed them into Claude, and then I get a summary because the context window out of the box is really good. I feel I get better results, but then you can see I combine one and the other.
So this makes you also more
for all of them.
You work usually like 8-10 hours a day. How much do you work usually for IBM? Do you work like a full time there, and then you do your creator business on the side, basically? So you need to be productive, I guess. You need to get more done.
Yeah, I had my boss actually asking me, how do you put out so much content?
Good question. I'm sure people would be wondering. I was checking out your blog before this and stuff like that. You have really good stuff, and that's also why I brought you on. You have on LinkedIn as well a lot. I encourage people to follow you there as well. But yeah, so how do you do it? I'm sure we get into that a little bit, but that's a good question.
Yeah, I write in LinkedIn every day. And I write my newsletter every Saturday. I didn't miss this year. On LinkedIn, I started in June, and newsletter, I didn't miss any day this year. First of all, I started with Justin Wells' course. I really got systems in place to learn how to be more structured, use templates, repurpose content. I got a system in place. I use heavily AI. I don't copy paste the output from ChatGPT and then that's what I put on LinkedIn. But AI is making me like 70% more productive. I couldn't do so much interesting content without it. And then I have a very clear schedule. I spend every day around 90 minutes in the evening. And then on the weekend, I spend 2 to 4 hours doing the entire weekend. So with systems, with AI and templates, you can go a long way. Now I'm embarking in this journey of using AI agents. We'll cover now in a second, but AI agents can take care of end-to-end tasks automatically. So I'm very excited about that because it's like if I'm hiring a content team. Instead of hiring people, I actually put a post
I'm
about
working
that.
on this is like something before AI, before it became a thing, I was like I was hiring writers and things like that in my business. But I felt I spent a lot of time to manage these people and it was like cumbersome. I had to still like edit it. So now instead for me, I'm using a tool actually also Content at Scale, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts on like the AI agents and how that can actually make me even more productive and get more done.
From this list, just to go click ChatGPT, and I develop my agents using the GPT 3.5 API. I have tutorials on how to
What
do
about
some
Bard?
other things.
Do you use Bard anything?
I don't. I actually started when they released it, but when Claude came in, I always like to have two. And it was ChatGPT and Bard at the beginning, but then when Claude became so good, I switched.
I find when you pull from Google, like because that's Bard is Google, right? So I think like if I want something like seeing kind of what ranks and seeing like titles for blog posts or something, I think Bard does a pretty good job. But for other things, I prefer maybe the other ones.
I'll check it out. I know they are improving it. I think for small businesses though, if you are going into some specific use cases, cost is a big concern because these things, when you deploy them at scale, they become really expensive. It's not like you pay a subscription on ChatGPT. It's when you are hitting the API many times, you can get surprised with a bill of like $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, depending how successful your AI is. And we had some indie hackers doing amazing AI products and they are making crazy money, but their cost is super high, so their profit is not as much. What is becoming really popular is this concept of smaller models, fine-tuned for specific use cases. And that's more complicated on the technical side, where if anyone is interested, I think that's a whole other world of like custom AI solutions that is becoming very popular and very cost-effective. And I was just in a call a few minutes ago with someone that reduced their expense by 85% just using a different model and fine-tuning it for a specific use case. That's an interesting dynamic. I've heard someone saying you don't need AGI kind of model, like super smart, large, huge model to do something very specific, like a customer service chatbot for your specific website. Sometimes something more narrow can do the work. There are so many options. It's becoming hard to pick up.
I saw a list of like 6,000 some tools. Like, that you obviously as a creator starting that's too overwhelming. But also something I see before we get into kind of the agent, I see like a lot of tools that I have been using before, actually a long time. Maybe they have been using for 5+ years. I mean, they're just putting AI for in the forefront, basically. I mean, that's what I see as well. So like even Riverside, which we are using to record this, they have some AI features, right? So a lot of tools are just doing that. And there's like tools that are just coming out now in the AI revolution where it's like even more popular. That's great. I think a lot of it disappear if they don't have a clear use case or something. I mean, if there's if they're just copying some other tool, usually I think a lot of them will disappear because there's too many of them, right? I think that's what I see, at least 6,000 plus tools. Most of them are pretty crappy, like a lot of plugins for Chrome and things like that. They have a use case, but they actually slowed me down more than actually made me more productive.
Look, I think the big players are covering most of the right functionality. I'll share with you 3 things that I think are pretty popular right now and can benefit everyone. I will start with the AI agents because I get a lot of questions about that. I'll get into custom chatbots and then AI avatars, which is something I'm starting to play with.
That's something I've played with as well. It's nice.
The first one, AI agents. And I posted a post on LinkedIn that became pretty popular because actually I had a point in time where I needed help with research, as I mentioned, of analyzing research papers and analyzing news in the market and analyzing tools. And it's starting to become complicated. So that's what you said, that you go and hire people, writers, content researchers. I decided to go on another route. I decided to spend 2 weeks using GPT, and now there is AutoGen from Microsoft. There are frameworks that you need to program in Python, but you can basically create an agent. An agent is not just a chatbot; is you basically give it a task, and the agent will automatically decide what steps it needs to accomplish to do that task. For example, I say, okay, give me the top 10 news in the AI space for the week. And I connect some tools to the agent. I tell to the agent, you have access to the Google News API. You have access to the internet. You have access to my email to send me a summary at the end, and so on. So the agent will say, the first thing I'll do is I'll go and search for the news. I'll search as well on YouTube to see if there is some cross correlation between the news and YouTube videos that are coming, and try to prioritize them by number of views, by popularity, things like that. Then it will access the news themselves and will automatically create summaries. And then it will send me a full recap. One of the most popular tutorials that I put on my community was basically a step-by-step exercise on how I do that. I have another one coming up on how you actually connect the tools. But in this case, what you are doing is creating your first code. And even if you don't know how to code, I put it in such a way that you can just come in, change the prompts, and execute the code. And it's pretty straightforward.
So to do this, you need to code a little bit to do this, or are there tools available that actually you can have this without having some coding and knowledge of this?
There are some tools that are getting into the no code space for AI agents, but I didn't find anything really advanced at this point. There are 3 frameworks: Baby AGI, AutoGPT, and AutoGen. Those are 3 in Python. Some basics of Python are required, but I think in the next 12 months, we'll have some no-code tool that will allow you to do these kind of things. But right now, this is how it looks like. A bunch of code. You can take this in the tutorial, follow the steps, and execute it.
I will link this up also below here so you can check it out.
This is really awesome. And also some people in research found out is that I could have just one. I could have just Paul, the writer, but I have the editor. And what happened is when you have 2 LLMs interacting with each other, they challenge each other. And they increase the quality of the output. And you give them different roles. Paul, the writer, is in charge of finding the content and writing a summary. And then Lisa understands more the business side and the structure and what works and what doesn't work. In this example, what you see here at the end is this very long text, which is basically the 2 agents talking to each other. And it's actually a lot of fun to see how they talk. It's like if you have 2 coworkers. And what is really important as well is the human in the loop. Just imagine this thing is going crazy. You can configure it in a way that you can intervene. If you see things are going off track, you can go and say, hey, can you actually spend more time in this area or whatever? So you can program the whole agent. You can interact in the middle of a task and provide direction and so on.
But what's the cost to run this? If you run it every week, you said you do.
I had some questions about that when I posted on LinkedIn, because one of the things I say is I have this running 24/7. In reality, I don't have it running 24/7 because it will be crazy expensive, but I do have it on a schedule. So it runs every day for like 30 minutes. That's enough time for the agent to go grab the info from the internet and do it something and pick it up the day after. So you can create that logic, and it costs money. It costs around $200 a month to have the full system, but it's less money than hiring people. But you need to
way less than hiring someone to do. I mean, depending on what it would be, but like you don't have to manage someone. I mean, essentially you manage this, but you don't need to manage anyone. It's like you have already set it up once and it's running on autopilot basically, which is really cool.
As you say, for creators, there are so many tools that are going to be embedded on your day-to-day software. And Riverside is a great example. The script on video editing is a great example.
That's
YouTube
fantastic.
will have voice translation with lip syncing, so you will be able to listen to Joe Rogan in Spanish. I wanted to speak on that
a little bit. This is interesting because right now there's like 11 labs and there's Hey Gen and things like that. This work very well. But my prediction is, and you already said this, that now I think YouTube, they will come out with that as well, because what's going to happen is like our video now is in English, but let's say someone wants to view this in Spanish. Yeah, we can have captions, but it's not the same thing to have caption. It's that if they see our voices in Spanish, I know you speak Spanish, but I don't speak Spanish. So I think if you could have this lip sync, I think that would be amazing. And if it was in the YouTube platform, people will stay longer on the platform, which they want ultimately. So yeah, I predict that will happen. I don't know when they will include it.
This is a tutorial that is on my website as well. This is my AI avatar with HeyGen, and it takes literally 10 minutes.
HeyGen is awesome. I use it as well. It's great.
This one, Synthesia, I had the CEO and the founder as well in the community in an interview. So these tools, YouTube, Spotify, all these tools will already have this functionality embedded.
You predict that will happen, that will have it. Let's say I want to upload this to YouTube. I want to have this in Spanish. When do you think that will be possible? Like, I mean, we never know, but like, when do you think that will be a thing that this technology will be in the YouTube platform directly?
I think Spotify announced that they have it already, or they did some demo in the last month. I think YouTube,
they for your own voice, or like someone else speaks, like a translation.
I saw the Lex Freeman podcast that you could translate it to, I think, 20 languages or something, but they don't have that
awesome.
widely.
Maybe it's because it's very popular and they did it on the popular ones. I don't think they do it on everyone yet. I think he's like so popular, right? He's getting millions of views. So it's probably a benefit to Spotify and YouTube and platforms like this to work with the big creators first. And then they will probably roll it. I think that's what's going to happen, actually. Mr. Beast already, for example, has it in a lot of languages. But I don't think it's not his voice in the Spanish language. Like, I think that is what's going to come next, that you can actually hear Mr. B. His lips are synced to Spanish and Portuguese or Chinese or whatever language. That is not what he has right now, but I think that's what's coming next. That will be even more connection with the audience.
Absolutely. So I think Google seems like it's going a little bit slower, but I think Google, they have this huge user base. So they are more careful putting all these crazy powerful AI solutions in production, because you have millions and billions of people using their products.
Apple is always slow, right?
Exactly.
iPhone never have they're like waiting forever to get even USB-C. Now with the iPhone 15, they got USB-C, so, and I think they are careful to not talk about AI too much. Even with the Vision Pro, they have AI in it, but they don't talk about it too much.
They didn't mention AI even once in their keynote,
which is really interesting. I think they because AI is a little bit hype, with a lot of things, and I think that's how they've always done it, kind of, and then they come out and they pretend they have improved the iPhone 300% and things like that, but it's like almost the same as the old model. I mean, that's their marketing, but it works for them.
So I posted this about this AI avatar on LinkedIn, and I had a lot of people worried, saying this is creepy, this is dangerous. So there is a whole consortium on how that all these companies are coming together to create a responsible use of synthetic media. You see companies like Meta is there, TikTok is there, because when you're creating an Instagram reel or TikTok or any of those tools, you will be able to tap into synthetic media, convert yourself into whatever you want, talk to avatars, and there are guidelines on responsible use.
Mm-hmm. But it's the risks of AI, right? Because you can, basically the pros and cons, generative AI and things like that, because you can take basically a celebrity's voice and then let them say anything. That's a little bit dangerous. I don't know what's your thoughts on this? What do you think will happen? I do think regulation would be great, and that's why they are coming together. But what's your thoughts right now?
By the time this goes live next Monday, the White House is going to release a set of laws for the AI space. There are already many in different geos, in different industries. So this is going to become a more regulated space, but it's going to be hard to control, especially with the openness of the community, open source. Mm-hmm. You can go grab these models and do it for free. I think these tools that are really deploying AI at mass scale, like on TikTok or on Instagram, they will go through several filters, and they are really doing that, and they will have to follow some guidelines. But
they have all these algorithms and things like that. I think it's just going to get better. I think that's what's going to happen, really.
Yeah. And companies like HeyGen and Synthesia and so on, I think they have a good opportunity for more business. For example, you are onboarding, let's imagine Armand is a new employee, right? So imagine I get a custom training based on an avatar, and the full training is personalized. Hey, Armand, welcome to the company. And I can ask questions, and the avatar will answer to me. So those very custom AI avatar solutions will be super simple to create for small businesses. But I think for things like YouTube, Spotify, those will be fully embedded already within the software that we're using already every day. So creators Stay tuned because in the next 18 months, you will see a lot of amazing AI features coming, which will make content creation even harder because the barrier of entry to high quality content will be much lower. So you will need to be even more creative on what you are doing because everyone will have access to amazing tools.
I think in a world of AI, which is like, I mean, this shows in the name, artificial intelligence, right? Like, I think you need to add a human-like touch. You need to be like, that's why we are doing something like this. I mean, maybe in a few years we can be like this and I will interview your AI avatar, possibly. I mean, that could happen, right? But I think still like connecting personally, I think like, and also it's going to help content creators doing more things they enjoy. Like I enjoy doing these, sessions, talking to people and things like that, but I don't enjoy the mundane tasks in my business, like uploading tags to YouTube and things like that. That will the AI take care of this, and uploading captions and, chapters, all this kind of stuff. I know you publish some videos on YouTube as well. So it's like, I enjoy creating the content, but not like actually, doing the other things around it, that I think AI helps out with.
And did you watch the Lex Fridman and Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, I was watching. It's so long. I mean, it's interesting. I like his podcast. I watch his podcast quite a bit.
So the last one, he was there for 3 times. The last one, they have they do it in the metaverse with ultra realistic avatars.
Yeah, I was seeing that one.
Yeah, it's like they are in the same room. I cannot wait for that. And I don't know if you pick up that part that Lex had to fly to some metal location to do like a full scan of his face and body to get that avatar. But that avatar in the future will be created with your cell phone.
Of course.
So everyone will have amazing, ultra realistic avatars. And next time we talk maybe in 2 years time, because that's the prediction that he said, it's going to be like if we're in the same studio. So that personal interaction will be much better. So your content will be much better because
really interesting.
It's going to be.
This is so interesting. I can't wait. I love technology and things like that. We'll see. Of course, the human will play a role. Like human has always been innovating and things like that. That's our nature. So I don't think we are. I mean, what I say, like we are. You will not be replaced by AI, but you will be replaced by someone using AI the right way and leveraging to grow your business. I mean, like we have talked about, you're becoming much more productive and efficient, even though you have, a full-time job at IBM and you're creating so much content for your LinkedIn and your personal website. I mean, it's pretty amazing what this can do. So good stuff.
I want to share one more thing. Creating chatbots.
This is something also I've been dabbling in. I've talked about it a little bit before, but I'm interested in this as well. So let's get into it. This is great.
Yeah, and I'm sure there is a very popular tool out there. I forgot its name, but someone that created a very easy way to create your custom chatbots. It's like creating your personalized ChatGPT.
Do you use a tool for it, or do you use more no code? What do you use usually?
What I want to share is my favorite approach to do that because you can go pretty crazy with it, but still no code. And I have this tutorial. It's called "Create Your First Chatbot with LLMs," and this tutorial is literally 5 minutes, and you don't have to do any coding. And basically, the user interface is something like this. You have a set of boxes that you connect together with some logic. You prompt it, you feed it with your own data, you connect it to your website, you connect it to your PDFs, you connect it to your transcripts from YouTube, to whatever. And then basically you execute it and you get a chatbot and you can test it. Here I'm just doing some basic testing. What is the capital of Portugal? And I was like, make it fun. So I was like making some jokes about Cristiano Ronaldo. So this is using a tool that is open source and is free called Flowwise, but there is a commercial version called Stack AI, which is a startup that is from Y Combinator. As I said, it's this kind of interface, no code, drag and drop. You can go very, very crazy advanced, but you don't do any coding. So if you want to learn all the AI concepts on how to create a generative AI application, but you still don't want to learn how to code in Python, you can go really far with tools like this. And I'm doubling down in these kind of tutorials because you can do amazing solutions.
So the benefit is you can do a little bit more. Like if you use a tool, like, I mean, you mentioned, like, for example, Wonder Chat or something, then they have, I mean, that's also like building a chatbot, but maybe you can do like however you want it, like when you build it yourself. I guess that's the difference a little bit. And maybe it's cheaper. I'm not sure. It might be cheaper as well, because obviously these tools are not always cheap if you're going to have a lot of requests and things like that. A lot of people chatting with you every day, that can get pretty expensive, I assume. So depends how many users.
I always say within IBM to my customers, this is the year where when everyone is creating their own pilots and testing stuff. Next year will be the year the productionizing those pilots, and everyone is going to start screaming out cost, because if you're successful and hopefully you create your own generative AI solution and it becomes something successful, they are really expensive to run in production. So cost will become important, and there are a lot of techniques to reduce cost, picking up models from them specifically, tune them specifically, and so on.
No, that's also, I think something before we kind of wrap this one up, I think it will be interesting because we talked a lot about your process to create content and you're doing it really well. Maybe you can showcase a little bit like how you do. We have talked about how you do, but like showcase what it is that you do, like to create a piece of content, maybe that goes on your blog or that goes on LinkedIn. Like what's your process like with the tools we have discussed?
Yeah. Look, I'm going to give you an example. I went to an AI event yesterday night here in San Francisco, and I got so many ideas. And this is me just writing a lot of ideas. It was like 2.5 hours event, and it was all about AI. So what I'm going to try to do this time is take pictures with this and use the ChatGPT capability, multimodality, to see, okay, convert these ideas into something digital so I don't have to type it myself. So that will be the first step.
To type it down? I mean, I do it sometimes. I have a notebook, but I don't always use, I use Apple Notes a lot, like when I'm on the go. I don't know what you...
Yeah, I usually do it as well, but I find I go much faster writing. Yeah. And this was the first time I do it this way. But I was just sitting
recording ideas as well, because I think that is getting because now you can actually, I mean, even with chat, I find myself having the app to ChatGPT, right? And you can like speak to it and things like that as well.
Absolutely. I do that as well. That's a great way as well to collect ideas. Maybe you're on the go and you just want, you don't want to type, you just record it.
Yeah, or in the car, whatever you're doing. Right?
So all these ideas, at the end of the day, I feed them into ChatGPT to formalize them. And then I have a database on Notion where I have the full collection of ideas.
Okay.
And I have different categories. I can actually share it if you want.
Yeah, if it's not confidential or anything like that, you can share it.
No, it's not confidential at all. So I have what I call my ideas board. Let me see.
And is this like, doesn't matter what the content, where do you start? Do you start usually for content for your blog or your LinkedIn? What is the main do you have like a main platform you produce for first? Is that like LinkedIn?
I'm not that structured right now. I do it sometimes on LinkedIn, and if it hits on LinkedIn, then I expand it on my newsletter, or the other way around. I don't have a system right there, but this is basic, and this is coming from the Justin Welsh course. He has templates, and I adapted those templates, but I have different types of content. It can be a list of things, a contrarian approach, and how-to tutorial, a quote, some story, some observation, IBM news, personal story, a question that I want to put. And I have all this, and this is actually automatically categorized by ChatGPT.
Okay.
I feed my ideas and I get those categorizations and I feed them here. So when I need to write something, I try to not think. I know what I need to write because I have my content structure on what goes on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, and the type of content. So I go here, I come back to my backlog, to my board, I pick up the idea, and then I have templates. And I have templates for each of them with inspiration ideas. And these are like posts that work well.
Templates is so key to have templates when you're writing something. With AI, it helps. You never start really from a blank slate, but I think it's so useful to have like template for like a structure for the content. I know Justin Welsh has I've learned something from him as well. I have, even for my students in my other programs, I have a lot around doing virtual events and stuff. We have templates for copy and things like that, just to speed up the process to create. Otherwise, people, can get stuck basically. So we try to avoid that.
And throughout that process, I use AI tools. I mentioned for idea generation, idea organization. And then when I'm actually writing the content, I have the templates, and sometimes I will have the topic, I will have the full body, and I'll have an example as I'll say, okay, convert this text and make it match this template. And then I tweak the template and make it nice.
You write based on the template, or do you like feed? You get the ideas, of course. You use the AI for this, but for the writing itself, you do it based on the template, and then you kind of summarize and stuff like that with AI.
Yeah, and it's a lot of testing and
Yeah.
tracking metrics as well. When something works, I double down on that. So something has been working in the past is something very simple in terms of the opener on LinkedIn, and but then step by step
Yeah, double
process.
down.
And
You do more what's working and things like that, right?
but
But what about
also,
but your blog is a little bit longer text, right?
yeah,
Do you tend to sit down and write that, or do you use AI to expand on your ideas, maybe from LinkedIn or something like that?
I spend quite a lot of time. I try to make it more actionable, provide a lot of value, so people actually spend time. My open
Yeah,
rate on my newsletter is 47%,
that's
which
awesome.
is pretty good. But
I've been in
that
email marketing for like 10 plus years. I know a lot about this. It's a very good open rate. Yeah,
it's
very good.
hard. So that makes me spend be more and more creative. So when I put things that are more on the research side, I don't have high open rates. But when I put tutorials or step by step, this is how you can transform your business step by step in this area.
The research side is more boring, you know, like, or at least for
Yeah,
the average user.
it's interesting. Sometimes I spend a lot of
For you,
time
I'm
make
sure
it
it's
like,
interesting as well, the research. Like, about,
and
I
it's
think
not
for the people just want to create content and things like that. I mean, for them, it's more like, hey, give me the latest tool or give me the latest tutorial how to
exactly.
do a chatbot or how to do X, Y, and Z. You know, that's how it is.
Yeah. So for long format, I do use AI, but I use it mostly to correct the grammar, to make it punchy. But I'm the one writing, and I that's what's taking most of my bandwidth right
Yeah.
now.
But one of the longest running tools that that is Grammarly, actually. That's like had an
Yeah.
AI for the longest time. And it's
Yeah.
like actually really good and integrates with a lot of things you might be already using, like in your browser or even in WordPress or whatever you use to do your blog. Or I saw you, I think you're on Ghost with your blog, I guess you saw.
Yeah. And something I'm starting to experiment is to take YouTube videos. Sometimes the piece of content I'm interested about is a full 1 hour podcast on YouTube. And then I forgot the name of the tool. I subscribed to it, and I was evaluating so many that
For summarizing,
I came with. Yeah, so you take the YouTube URL of a podcast, maybe an hour podcast, and it will give you the summary.
Yeah,
So I don't
there's
have to
many
go
tools
and
like
watch the
that. There's
entire
like
thing.
Tammy.ai. There's some Chrome extensions for this. There's quite a lot actually. And there's also like even for doing your chapters and things like that, there's tools like Instant Chapters. Like these like things that you might do that was difficult before, that is like AI is already solved the problem for a lot of people. Like show notes for podcasts. I mean, you don't need to do that anymore. AI takes care of it and does it really well.
So I guess it's hard to stay up to date on everything. I guess I'm the perfect example of someone working on a high demand, high pressure job, traveling around the world, and still I'm able to be consistent thanks to AI and good systems in place. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and then what do you see for, just briefly on this, because this is also part of generative AI, right? Like image AI and like Midjourney, Dall-E 3. I mean, now with Adobe and Firefly 2, there's like if a generative fill in Photoshop, there's like in Canva even, like a tool you might already be using as a creator, which is really simple, has a lot of AI features. What's kind of your thoughts on this? And have you been using some of the image AI tools outside of your...
I forgot about that. I use it all the time. I'm so glad we have those tools. I'm so glad we have those tools, because I used to hate to go to all these galleries and find some pictures that were never good.
The stock photos that everyone else they were using on their blog, so you never get any traction from it. That's what happens actually. A lot of people, use this same photo.
Yeah, so those avatars that I shared, Paul and Lisa, that are my AI agents that are created with Midjourney on my website, all the images and everything. Every time I need something, it's all Midjourney. Now I'm using Dall-E more and more.
Okay.
But I'll share with you.
What do you see like what do you tend to prefer? Like, I mean, Midjourney is actually coming with their own app, so you don't need to use Discord soon. So that's I mean, at the time we are recording this, it's still like with Discord, but they're gonna remove this. It's gonna be a lot easier actually.
It's gonna be a lot easier. So all this is all Midjourney. All this is Midjourney as well. I like Midjourney a lot. I don't care about the Discord, but I think it's hurting their adoption. So it's gonna become way more popular. I know my wife, she struggles using Discord properly, but Dall-E is very accessible, right?
It's more accessible. And Canva, of course, very accessible. And Firefly 2 is pretty amazing, to be honest. Like, to just make it a lot simpler, there's already a tool you might... And also generative fill in Photoshop. It's mind-blowing. I could put like glasses on me or whatever I want to do in one one small prompt. You just give it like, hey, put glasses on me or something like that. It's pretty easy.
So with Adobe, that's where if I change my hat and I go back to the work I do at IBM, we do have a great partnership with Adobe and we do projects with them. So it's very exciting what they are doing in that space.
Yeah. And no, I mean it's coming so much like for with I mean I think everything is getting better. Even like just a few months ago, the Midjourney couldn't create the hands properly. Now it's getting there, but it's getting better. And then you can actually bring in that's also something I wanted to touch upon, because Midjourney, when you create an image, it's not copyrighted, I think, right? But if you sign up for Adobe, they will support you in a lawsuit or something like that. That's in their terms. So speak a little bit about that. Like, what do you think? Because that's also the legislation that needs to get there. And I think if you have a Midjourney image, you need to tweak it or do something more with it to make it your own. Let's say you want to use it in a commercial. You wouldn't just use an image directly from Midjourney, because anyone else could steal that image and use the same afterwards.
That's an excellent point. So that's becoming, it depends where you are on your AI creator journey. But if you are going serious, doubling down, making money, or working on a big company, you need to use like that sort of protection that you just mentioned. That's something at IBM, we offer it as well to our customers. I know AWS, Microsoft. So if you use their models and you are in a lawsuit for any sort of reason because there is some copyright or some concern, those companies, they are so confident that the models that they are putting there are safe, and they follow all the checkboxes on trust and compliance, that they are ready to, they cover that. They put that on terms of the contract when you're buying their solutions.
I think that's what's going to happen with a lot of tools, that they might actually offer this protection in the world of AI, but you don't really know. But like, for example, we have a unique piece of content here. It's more like, that's why I love video. When you're doing this, it's unique. And you can like take the link and actually summarize this video, or getting like a full blog post with tools like Content at Scale, whatever you use. And that is not going to really be anyone else's content. It's my content. I can like tweak it however I want and like get short form content, like so many words we have spoken during this session, right? So, and I do like that a lot for just creating any form of content, because I know it's mine and I enjoy doing it. And then it's like my main piece of content and the rest supporting what I do.
Absolutely. My biggest recommendation here is stay up to date and in a healthy way, so you don't get overwhelmed. And follow people like you, some recommendations from people that are actually doing it, so you can actually not try too many things, but just get advice. I hope you get to the next level on usage of AI and start creating your AI solutions. Because when you start doing that, then you will tap a set of other use cases like AI agents that we discussed here. And that's where you will get an extra boost of productivity, even more than the one you have with the current tools available.
Yeah. Just final question. Was there any question you wanted me to ask, but I didn't, or any final words of wisdom you want to share with the audience?
I think maybe we can cover, I don't know if this is important for the audience, but I do have these hats here. If you are GPU rich or GPU poor. So I hope you all understand how AI is running actually, and yeah, it's maybe one of the things that we didn't cover much is the cost of this in production. You will see if you use too many of these tools, it will become expensive.
Because there are a lot of the shiny objects, right? There's a lot of tools, and you feel excited about them because you think they're gonna solve a problem, or maybe it's a problem you think you might even realize. That's what I feel sometimes when I see a new tool.
Yeah, and especially when you start creating your own solutions, you need to understand AI is running on special hardware, those GPUs that everyone wants nowadays from NVIDIA, and there is competition coming that will lower the price. But I think we're still like a year and a half, 2 years. So I hope you are all very successful and create your own AI solutions as well. Not just consume AI, but you create AI. But take care of understanding the cost of AI in production. Because I've seen some people that they were very happy with adoption, but then very surprised with the cost when they saw the bill. And I think that happened as well on the early days of cloud computing, even before some of the cloud providers that didn't have these controls on the billing section to cap how much you're going to use. And you can get really surprised if something is blowing up, going viral on your AI avatar or your chatbot, and you are with like a $15,000 or $20,000 bill, that's not pleasant, you know. So make an effort to understand why. I think it's important to understand why GPUs are such a big deal, but then how that can affect consumption.
And do you have any predictions with AI in the near future and the longer term as well? What's your thoughts around it, especially since you work for such a big company like IBM?
Yeah, I think two areas. First, no code. I think you all have access to amazing tools. It's just going to continue growing that space, and you will be able to do things even more advanced. So more powerful models, more customization, more advanced solutions. You will be able to do all that using no code. And then AI agents. I'm very excited about that because you will be able to teach AI just by doing a screen record. Just imagine yourself doing some things on Excel, on Salesforce CRM, on things like that. Because of multimodality of the new foundation models, you will be able to teach AI to do things that are not just based on text, but they are based on images. And I always put the same example. You can learn what is an apple by reading about the apple. The apple is red, it is round. They can describe you the smell, but you only know what is an apple when you actually hold it, you smell it, you taste it. So AI is going to become so much smarter, more smarter when you start mixing text with video, with images, with audio. So it's going to become super powerful in ways we cannot even imagine at this point. And AI agents will become even more popular. So it's not going to be just a chatbot. I ask and I get an answer, whether it's text or an image. It's going to be like our AI coworkers.
Yeah, I mean, that's super exciting. That's great final words as well. Thanks so much, Armand, for coming on. Be sure everyone to check out his work over at nocode.ai. Very simple. So check him out.
Yeah.
I put that link in the description as well. If you have any comments or questions, maybe there's something you would like us to dive deeper on in a future session, let us know. And yeah, connect with Armand, and I'll see you in the next session. Ciao for now. Bye.